advanced level tests there are no openings. We can probably try to slip in some started level tests, but testing is getting a little full too. In fact, Kenny sent me the list, and me being the negligent education director that I have yet to reconcile that. So I apologize for that, Kenny. I was asking for it, and I didn't get to it yet. But anyway, and again, this is our Iowa is our season finale, and it's going to be a good one. So hope to see you there, guys, and looking forward to seeing those who are coming. Rob, how are you, man?
I am fired up and ready for this youth season. But without that saying, the summer training has been a roller coaster. So we'll see if we're ready.
Yeah, well, ready or not, here it comes, and you can only go do it, and it's going to be what it's going to be. That's how I feel, man. Well, I think we're good, but time will tell. Kenny, you all settled in, buddy?
Yeah. Sorry for the delay.
That's okay. It'll go in my report.
I do have it live on our Facebook and YouTube, but it says Facebook's having issues. So
yeah, that's the same note I got, but it is streaming there. I was able to share it there. We're getting confirmation from people that it is streaming there. Are you live on YouTube? Yes, Wesley, we are on YouTube. Kenny just put it on the ABTA YouTube page, and because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, I linked it to my YouTube page too, Tales on Trails Deer Tracking. You can find it either way there. And Rob shared it around too on Facebook. So hey, Terry. So hey, man, let's get into the topic at hand. We kind of greased it, the evolution of information and training tactics and trials and tribulations and learning curves and the ubiquitous information today that wasn't available back when you OGs got started. So let's roll, man. What do you got?
Yeah. You give me just a second. I'm still a little behind trying to get everything pulled up. If you want to go.
You should have said, hey, roll. Keep stalling, you should have said.
Yeah, everything's I just logged into Wi-Fi and everything's coming in at once. I have like 15,000 messages because I've been driving and I had a lot of stuff muted.
I don't believe you. 15,000. That's a lot. No, that's okay. Well, let's while you're doing that, Rob, man, give us your bio. I mean, you're pretty well known, but man, just share with those who don't.
Well, I'm obviously Rob Miller. Southern Michigan is where I predominantly track at. Heading into our 18th season. I believe I'm on my 4th tracking dog. So I've had the mixture of good ones that want to make you quit, and ones that want to wish they lived forever. So, I'm addicted to it. I'm a competitor, hard-headed, stubborn, and this is an addiction that I look forward to every fall.
I have a question for you. When we were on before we went live, you said that you were going to go get your wife to confirm some things. Is that some of the stuff that she came out and confirmed? The hard-headedness, stubborn.
She probably confirmed a lot more than that, Kenny.
She just ran out of ink making her list. I'm sure my wife would be the same way.
Yeah. No, I think that's a big part of as a tracking world is if you are, in a marriage, your support, your wife, your husband, whatever it may be, they're all in also. Yeah. You can't do this without having support at home. If you are in a have a family or wife or husband, my wife has been, when I first got started back in 2007, I had 4 children under 5 years old at that time in diapers. And she was home taking care of everything while I'm out here trying to learn how to find deer with a wiener dog. And she's been with me the whole way, supported the entire way. And without her, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I have to agree the same. You know, my wife used to go on just about every track with me. She wouldn't get out in the woods, but she she was instrumental because when we go through a block, you know, and end up, you know, a couple miles away rather than having to walk all the way back, she would at least drive around and pick us up. Or I would call her and I'd say, "Hey, I need you to turn another dog out." And, you know, I'd say, "Hey, put the collar on, turn it on, you know, open the box, let him go out. He'll find me or she'll find me."
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. It's hard. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I was pretty lucky too. I got into it after my kids were all grown and gone, and you know, just starting to have grandkids. But yeah, it's still the wife is supportive, you know, and you can't do it. You can't do it if they're not, because it is a demand if you're going to do it to the degree that most of us do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I got married in October, and there's many days I'm tracking on our anniversary. She's like, go get that deer. We'll celebrate it when you're off.
Yeah.
You guys will probably find this funny, but I actually put that my wife in our wedding vows that my wife would follow me through all life's journeys, including hunting and fishing.
You're a wise man.
Said he there she is. Like, yeah.
The preacher's like, I'm not going to say that, but he did.
Yeah. That's great.
That's too funny.
Yeah. So now that I'm prepared, you know, Rob, you mentioned you started in 2008, and you know, I can remember back then, you know, it was a whole different world. The tracking scene was just completely different, night and day.
Yeah.
And you know, we've came a long ways then. And you know, one thing I wanted to share tonight, you know, last week we spoke with Emily and Megan about the mentorship program. And Rob, back then, did you have a mentor, or I should say, even if you had a mentor, was it a structured training program, or how did it go for you?
Absolutely nothing. Zero. There wasn't even at the time. You know, I went to a bow club my entire life, shot traditional archery at a bow club. There was zero communication of tracking dogs in 07, 06 that wasn't even a thought. We just shot a deer, you get everybody with a lantern, and you did your best, and that was it. So it got to the point where I could kill every target, but boy, I could not kill a deer to save my life. Wounded way too many deer to brag about. So I finally shot a good buck, and I did everything I could to try to find it. So I just started calling butcher shops, taxidermy shops, because that's the same year. Maybe Peterson Bow Hunt magazine. So one of the magazines had an article with John Ginene in it, and the little wiener dogs. And right then, I'm like, I gotta try to find a dog. Never heard of such a thing. And unfortunately, there was nobody had one that at that time, and no social media at that time. And we barely had cell phones at that time, to be honest with you. So no, I just started out totally green, knowing zero, just did what I thought was right. And thankfully my first dog was one of those plug and play things, and it started just tracking without no training.
Yeah. And, you know, I had similar experience. You know, I can remember probably about 2006 to 2008, we had, if I remember right, 4, maybe 5 trackers that I know of that tracked between the whole state of Florida and South Georgia. Paul Omer was one of them, Randy Vick. I'm trying to think of who else there was. There was a couple of women. I can't even think of their names, but really, I mean, there was no one, like you said. You know, barely had cell phones then.
Yeah.
You know, and so in training, so in Florida, there's a lot of people that use dogs to hunt deer with, and you know, out of, you know, maybe a whole pack of dogs, you might have one that would trail a wounded deer. More often than not, once you wound it, they're moving on, trying to find the next live one they can chase. So over the years, people would use, maybe some of the rabbit dogs or their deer dogs, and just get lucky and have one that's a natural. But the training has came so far, and back then we would just go through dogs until we got one that just made it.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot of hide dragging, a lot of liver dragging back then, and there wasn't the information out there that there is now. What would you say, Rob, was one of the biggest mistakes you made back then that you've learned from that you share with others now?
Well, if I'm transparent, I still make probably more mistakes today than I did back then. As much as this technology and information's there, we fall back into bad habits, what we're used to doing, what we feel is right. And end of the day, I still question myself if I'm even a trainer. I really don't even feel like I'm a trainer. I'm more of a dog walker, and I just trust a dog and hope the dog does right in most cases. So my biggest mistake, I think, now would be man, I make so many mistakes. That's so hard to pinpoint one.
We all do.
Yeah. I think joysticking is probably my biggest problem. I expect way too much out of a young dog. I want that perfect training session every time, and I want that dog to mature way faster than it's going to. So I as a father of 4, I should be very patient, but I'm very impatient with my dogs until they start basically telling me I don't know what I'm doing as a handler or trainer. That's when I start realizing to be patient and start trusting them more.
Let's pause for a second, Kenny. So, Rob, you mentioned young dogs. So you have 2 right now, right? Sergeant, Silo, right? That you track with?
Yeah, I have 2. I have 3. One that's still back in the back burner, maturing on me. But yeah, I have 2 that I'm focusing on. Yep.
And how old is Sergeant?
Sergeant just turned 10.
Oh, is he that old? I didn't realize he's that old.
Yep.
Okay. What about Silo?
He'll be 4 in December.
Okay. And is he Alpine?
He's an Alpine. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. So, and what's your up and comer?
Well, it's actually another Alpine. It's actually it's Silo's older sister from the previous litter. They're litter mates.
Okay.
I originally got her, but again, I'm a terrible trainer. I'll point that right out first and foremost. But she just loves rabbits. She's wired on rabbits, and when we get in the woods, it's just the rabbit switch comes on and everything else goes off. So it's really been trial. So I end up just putting her on the side burner right now. And I'm hoping once I get Silo dialed in and maybe with some, advice from Kenny, I can get her back going.
So the follow-up question for you then, Kenny. I don't want to hijack the format here.
No, you're good.
I think it's good to frame this stuff because we did, Rob, you probably saw we did the one on breed tendencies when I hijacked Kenny with all my bloodhound buddies.
Yeah.
And I find that stuff truly interesting. So, Kenny, have you trained many Alpines?
I've only trained one.
Because is there a tendency, commonality, generalization from the Alpine breed, as far as their style or anything that we all know bloodhounds are slow and they're this and that, and Bavarians, are slow to mature and they're this and that, and their style is this, and Labs are race dogs and they, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. But does an Alpine, have you heard of any common traits?
So the experience I have with them is they're basically a Teckle with long legs.
Okay. I mean, that's a good thing to me. Yeah.
I mean, and that's where that the crittering comes from. That's one of the things that you really have to work on with a Teckle. Okay.
Well, yeah. So I just wanted to just talk, ask about the Alpine and just frame like Bavarians, it's common knowledge they're slow to mature. So are they an average maturity rate, or would you know? And if you don't know, that's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I don't. Like I said, I've only messed with one, but Rob probably knows.
He doesn't know anything.
Well, I can just go from what I do know here in the States is basically every dog in the States but one is out of the same litter. The Grovers out of Georgia had 2 litters. I believe the first litter, I know, I think that is it Andy? I think Andy Benson ended up getting 2 of the pups from that litter, and neither one of those worked out for him. I don't really think there's any of Siren, which is my older dog's litter mates, that are doing anything I would call impressive work. I think they're all basically just friends and family type tracking stuff, nothing professional.
Yeah.
Then the second litter is Silo's litter, and again, I don't know of any that are out here doing any outstanding work as a 3-year-old. And I know Dean's trained one, and that dog's actually pretty close to me. And Andy has that dog, and Andy says the dog does good work, but Andy doesn't really feel like dealing with the public tracking wise. He's just going to basically do it for friends and family. But the people I know over in Austria through social media, and they all just really praise the breed about their line focus, their cold nose trailing ability, their intelligence, their willingness to work out a track, the no quit in them. I mean, everything textbook would be the perfect dog for me. The problem I'm having is, again, back to my training. I'm not a great trainer, and Silo is a high prey drive dog. This thing wants to hunt. You put him in the woods, and he wants to find what he's going to catch or kill first before he wants to put his nose down and follow some old 2 hooves that I laid, yesterday. Just that desire to follow that hoof is just not there. Now, going back to last deer season, when you put him on an actual shot deer, he's a gamer. This dude's a gamer.
Okay.
Then the ultimate problem comes is I can't read him. He's so fast. and now that we're off leash in Michigan, I just get so frustrated on the leash, him dragging me through everything, the leash tangling up. I get annoyed. I just cut his ass loose. And then 5-6 minutes later, he's 900 yards showing treat on the GPS, and I have no idea how he got to the deer. I follow the line, and I don't see no indication that he was tracking the deer, but he's standing on the client's deer within minutes, many times.
Yeah.
And if he's not on the deer within a few minutes, he's chasing every deer out of the county.
Yeah, and in fact, Rob, talking about hard to read, that's a message I sent you when you sent me that video. I said that dog's not easy to read.
Yeah, so you see what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he's all nose and no brain with some ADHD with him. Maybe like a bloodhound.
I was gonna say, are we still talking about?
All right. Yeah, I get it. I get it. So I just pulled up.
Maybe I should be asking Matt some tendencies so I get my dog figured out.
There you go.
I tell you what, man. If it's a bloodhound, I'll send you a list.
Okay.
A long one.
I don't know, man. I just looked at a picture. I didn't realize that. I was thinking they were more Bavarian-esque in their shape and size, but they're really not, are they? They're a little shorter than that. It looks like a little bit longer.
Yeah, Silo's 52 pounds.
Oh, he is okay. So he's
about 4 or 5 pounds heavier than my co-pal Sergeant. Sergeant's got longer legs, and the Alpine's a very sturdy, strong dog. Big bone, big feet. Big thick ears, big nostrils. I mean, they're little powerhouses, and I do feel if I can get him dialed up, he should finish out as a top performer out of all the dogs I've ever had.
Yeah, I'll tell you from the videos you've been sending me and the things we've been talking about, I don't think it'll be long. He'll be dialed in.
I hope so.
And for those following along at home that may not have heard of the breed, we keep calling it Alpine because it's easier to say than Alpine Droshbrock. There's some version of that.
So it's Applandis Dachsbrock.
Applandus, yeah, the German pronunciation.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, that's what it is. Yeah, Applandus Alpine Droshbrock. For those playing along at home. So all right, I've hijacked this enough. Go.
No, you're good. So it kind of tied right in. You know, what I had was some training mistakes, and you know that kind of tied right in. I know I made a bunch over the years of trying different stuff, and you know I've made a lot of training mistakes. Probably some of the biggest ones is not challenging the dog enough early on, and holding the dog back, and then you know I've been guilty of dogs not wanting to take mock tracks anymore. That's a hot topic. Every time you turn around, my dog won't take a mock track. Well, I can tell you from experience, it's created by the person on the end that's laying those lines. You know, and you don't challenge a dog, you don't mix it up, you don't keep it fun and engaging. That's the results. And it doesn't mean they won't find deer, because I mean, honestly, I've had dogs that my first test, you know, I took a dog that had over 600 recoveries, and we didn't even make it to the first 90, and I bombed it.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I can say the same.
That was a reflection of me.
I can say the same thing with Sargent. You know, he's a Slovakian Kopov. Many people don't know about that breed. I actually referred to him. He's more like a cur dog type of tendencies, and I've never tested him. He's never taken a mock track, even from a 1-2-year-old. I'd lay a mock track. He'd get in the woods and head up looking for deer. He hates deer, and I'd probably be lucky to pass a UBT 1 right now if I took it with him. It could be my training, but you get him in the woods on a blood trail and an actual shot deer. This boy's a straight gamer. I think he truly learned early on the difference between fake and real. And again, my training, it could be that, but testing for him is not going to happen.
Right.
Well, we've always said the ribbon doesn't mean a damn thing about the dog's ability to find a deer. It's just a validation of the work that you've put in, and I don't discredit them. I'm proud of mine, and we'll continue to earn them with new dogs. But
no, I think it's great, and it's really good testimonial for the handling. That to me is the most important.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you talk about early mistakes. I mean. And hell, I'm still making them. I've learned a whole ton in the last 18 months. Really, just engaging with the role in this organization. I'm, you know, almost like you said, Rob. It's whatever word you use, but it's a compulsive disorder. There's not a day goes by that I'm not trying to read or listen or engage or somehow in something tracking. And I wish I was kidding about that, because it's a little bit consuming. Yeah,
it's very consuming.
But you know, I'm the same way, and I, in terms of mistakes, I was dragging a full hide when my bloodhound was a puppy, because I thought that frozen leg that I was dragging wasn't leaving enough scent, let alone I was leaving enough freaking scent for the whole goddamn neighborhood to freaking follow from, you know, 3 miles down the road. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn things, and then learning the fundamental, learning then how to apply it is a whole nother thing, you know, and then I don't know, man. It's a process, and going back to when you both started, nobody knew this stuff. You were training with blood, and there were hundreds, if not thousands, of dogs trained on blood only and found plenty of deer.
Mm-hmm.
There were plenty of dogs trained and still trained today with blood only or dragging a leg, and they're finding deer. You know,
yeah, but it shows in the difficult, and that's when you see it, when you get those hard.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. They're finding deer, but where I have come to, you know, we all find, again, I apologize if I'm derailing where you want to go with this, guys, but we all find things that we can relate to and we gravitate towards in terms of, if we went to everybody we know and say, hey, how do you train? What do you do? What should I be doing? And then you do try to do it all. I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you try to do it all, because everybody has different ways and there's no consistency. So latch on to, I think we naturally gravitate towards one way or another. I have started to gravitate towards very strongly, the no blood and the problem solving versus straight line distance along the edge of a cornfield or something. I don't give a damn about any of that. That's just what I have become drawn to. And if you find the one or two or three mentors that have common approaches, and that can keep some consistency in your approach, rather than lottie-dottie and everybody approach and trying everything. It's good to talk to them. I think it's good to talk to people, hear their perspectives, but then you've got to start to, okay, I don't understand that. That doesn't appeal to me. And then start finding those common threads and then getting perspectives within that common thread. That's just how I have come to, develop my approach to information and training, and those, who I respect and I think have good information. And we'll find out what happens this year going into year 4, but
piggyback off that, I think a little bit going into year 4, that alone will tell you a lot, because just the dog maturing, and the dog is so smart, everything you could have done beforehand may have been wrong, but that dog's still going to figure it out, because it's just a dog. That's just what they're able to do. So I'm big into, my dogs are slow to mature. And back to your training things, I listen to everybody. I apply what I think I can apply, and I trust who I trust. And even I may trust Kenny with everything, he still maybe feed me a line of BS, and because it worked for him, it may not work for my dog. But then I hear my dog's 4 years old and it's out here stacking deer on the tailgate because it's a dog. And I wish I could jump that maturity, speed that up. So I have a 2-year-old dog that's doing 4-year-old dog work. That's where I think a skilled trainer and a guy that or a handler that really understands the dog's tendencies and can problem solve and correct problems. Those are the guys I wish I knew. I wish I had in my pocket, and speed up this whole process with our dogs. So it's more of a plug and play situation versus years of just out there trial by fire, because that's exhausting.
It is exhausting when trial by fire, or out there, training without a purpose, or because you don't know what a purpose should be. That I don't mean that to be critical of those who are just out there letting their dogs follow a line, if they don't know. But the maturity thing, I don't think we can ever make you can't speed up maturity. But this is my assessment. Okay, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but I believe you can't speed up the maturity process. But what you can flatten the curve on is the dog's ability to problem solve, and that comes from how you develop and lay out your training lines and your approach to training, and then time on task. It's not about I've been tracking for 10 years and I go on 12 tracks a year. Great. I've been tracking for 3 years and I go on 86 tracks a year. Which dog has more experience?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so it's time on task, and there's no substitute for that, and I was the same way, Rob. I held myself back, and I had plenty of lows my first couple of years, because I wanted my 1 and 2 year old dog to be like the 5 and 6 year old dogs I'm watching people recover. Yep. And I didn't have the patience to get there. I think we're on the cusp of some good stuff this coming year, just based on how we ended last year. And
Did you get a cur dog?
And Kenny, I'm going to mute you. You're breaking up, Kenny. You're breaking up. But I think we are, just based on the way we ended last season, kind of on an upswing, and we seem to have had a fairly decent off season. that combined with, coming into year 4, her maturity, she just turned 4. So I think the stars are starting to align a little bit, and going off lead where I can just stay the hell out of her way.
That's
I
a big
can't.
thing.
Yeah, and that was so liberating. But I've learned a lot. And here I go hijacking the conversation.
No, you're good. So, kind of bring it. Yeah. So to bring it back in, tie things back in. One thing that I dealt with, I think a lot of, Rob, you probably agree, is years ago the more experienced trackers, and I fell into this myself, and it wasn't intentional. But I wasn't open to helping others. The culture was different then. The culture was, hey, I don't want to share this because I don't want competition in my backyard.
Right.
Well, now I have 11 trackers within an hour of me. That's all, tailgating 100 deer a year.
Yeah.
Now I help everyone that I can. But I will say, because of that, a lot of it it was trial and error, trying new things, trying different training tactics. And I will say that I have been able to flatten the curve with my dogs.
And you should.
And a lot of that, I mean, we train a lot of dogs, but you can't speed up maturity, but one thing you can do, you can speed up their ability to problem solve, as Matt said. And that is key. I mean, if you take a kid, you have kids, both of you have kids, I have kids. If all you do is teach a kid 2 + 2, all they're ever going to know is 2 + 2. Then when they run into a problem that is 2 × 2, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Where if you start that kid young at 2 + 2, you could teach a parrot to do multiplication. I mean,
you can teach a horse.
Right.
That goes back to, as a trainer, you want to set that training session up so you're happy because your dog successfully did it. And I felt guilty into that. And just recently, trainers would be like, hey, lay a track, and if the dog doesn't complete it, circle around, go put it back in the kennel for 15 minutes. Give it a timeout. Bring it back out. Run it again. Repeat that process. That's something I'd always joystick the dog, bring it back, set it back down, put it in timeout on the line. Just basically beat the dog, not beat the dog physically, but like repetitive, doing the same thing over down the line till it got to the end, just to make me happy, but it was failing the dog the entire time.
Yep. And we've all done it. I've been there. I've done it, and I even now, sometimes, like my Bavarian, my female Bavarian, when I got her, because we trained her for someone else, and then he ended up getting rid of her. Well, anyways, it came full circle. We ended up getting her back. Or we ended up getting her. I shouldn't say back. We ended up getting her. And she hadn't been worked in really about 1.5 years. So we got there and lay a line, and it was 30 hours old and like 900 yards, and she just smoked it. And even then I was proud, and I posted the line, and I'm like, and it was picture perfect. I'm like, that wasn't a good training line. What did she learn on that line? What did I learn on that line?
Yeah.
But you're right in general, but I think it's okay. And here I am talking to the 20-year dog trainer. I think it's okay.
It is, as long as it's not every time.
Yeah, on occasion, let that validation. You're getting down in the dumps because you feel your dog is broken. I've been there more than I care to admit to. Go do the line and get that sexy overlay. Okay, good. My dog's not broken, and you can feel. I don't think that's a problem as long as that isn't the training protocol. No harm in that. Throw them an easy one once in a while.
And to go back to talking about Rob, when early on in our process, and I say we because I'm sure that you did this as well as I did. I mishandled a lot of lot of calls and communications. I didn't ask the right questions. I didn't know the right questions to ask. I made the wrong calls. I left deer in the woods. I mean, everyone's going to leave deer in the woods if they track long enough, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you know, the trackers today, you know, it's a great thing because kind of piggybacking off of last week, the mentorship today is next level. I mean, it's awesome. There's resources and guidance that exist now that is like never before.
The mentorship can be awesome. Just because there's more doesn't mean better, right?
No, but there is better programs.
A lot more, yeah.
I say programs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. You're 100% right.
Yeah, there's a lot more resources. You know, I think what did the tracking hit Facebook about 16 years ago, something like that. You know, even then there wasn't a lot of resources.
No,
not like there is today. And you know, now you can utilize those resources to shorten the learning curve. You know, and but here's the key. You know, there has to be respect within the community. You know, and respect comes from listening and valuing others. You know, and if you value others, you're going. For instance, Rob, if I just came to you and I knew everything, and you know, I would ask a question, but then you would give advice. Say, oh yeah, I already know that. You know, what's your response going to be to me? You're probably not going to help me.
It's going to be very short. It's going to be very short, and I'm not going to invest much energy into it.
Right.
The big thing I think for the lot of young trackers are that first phone call or that first text that you send to that person that you're looking up to or looking for some advice. It's that approach. Has to be not so direct, not so cocky. It's more like, hey, I'm Rob. I have a new dog. I'm willing to go out there and grind on every track that you're willing to send me. I don't care if the deer is dead or alive. I don't care if it's rained 100 inches of rain. I just want to put my dog on everything I put my dog on. And the most important is I want to show up and be an extension of you and what you've created. And so when I leave, that hunter's like, wow, that young man just showed up or young lady showed up and did everything they physically possibly could do. No, we didn't find the deer, but that hunter respects that hard work, that grind. And at the end of the day, that young tracker is going to get way more work off finding that one deer or tracking for that one hunter that didn't find the deer, because that hunter is going to say, well, that person's really out here just doing everything they can. And you're just going to start getting calls after calls. And then it builds off. I'm going to get the feedback from the hunter like, yeah, Jimmy showed up and you know, he was out here 4.5 hours, went through all my swamp. That thing is so nasty. And what a great young man that person is. And then I'll be like, all right. So as my calls keep coming in, I'm going to keep feeding Jimmy calls nonstop because I can only do so many calls per day. And the last thing I want is a hunter not getting help. And a young green tracker is better than no help at all. And if you're going to show up and go and put your boots to the ground and get after it, I'm going to keep you swamped with tracks. And you're going to start stacking deer on the tailgate as your dog starts running those non-lethal shot deer. Your dog is getting way better. You're starting to read your dog. You're starting to trust your dog. Your dog's proven itself. And before you know it, you're off to the races.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to agree, you know, I've learned more on those tough tracks and those non-recoveries, and I think the dog learns too. I mean, I know the dog learns too.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and in fact, now I agree with that. Yeah. Now I tend to refer out the easier ones most of the time because I enjoy those challenging ones.
Well, and you have a dog that can do it, so you do enjoy those. I mean, who doesn't like a 2-mile track when your dog's just smoking it, even though you know the deer at the end of it, but you hope you get to just get a jump out of the end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and backing up, I got some notes back when I first started in 2007. I had 3 recoveries for a whole deer season. I do not know how many tracks I went on. Probably not no more than 20 or something. But back then, I took my phone rang, and you were going no matter what. You're happy just get in the car.
Yeah.
And I think now these new trackers, they're just want to sit back and wait for that slam dunk track and turning down all kinds of good tracks they could be out learning on, building clientele with, building their reputation. They're just sitting back waiting for slam dunks. So they want to get that Facebook post.
Well, I was
after
just
we
gonna say
started,
that.
we put our boots down. We went. So 07, I had 3 recoveries. 08, I had 6 recoveries. 09, I had 7 recoveries. 2010, I had 9 recoveries. So that's not that many deer being found in my beginning days, but I took every single track that I could take.
Yeah. Well, that's the devil and the angel of social media. The angel is the information's there. You can make a lot of great contacts. The devil is the information's there, and it creates a false sense of the grind for some new trackers. I'll just phrase it like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's definitely not all of them.
No.
Definitely
don't want to group everybody in. And just talking to the ones that may need to hear this in some situations.
But even the the folks that we might not categorize that are placing that in that devil category. There's still something to be said for getting out there.
Oh yeah.
And I would tell you it's hard, especially when sometimes when you're on lead and you do have an 85-pound at the time bloodhound and you're dragging you through a freaking knee-deep swamp. No alligators up here, Kenny. Rob and I don't have to worry about that. But you know what I'm saying. And every third step you sink to China, and you know damn well you're not going to get the deer. And it wears on you after a while. Well, Fleet makes that better, but it's like, God dang, man. That's
Matt, I don't think it makes any difference the size of the dog into that line. It's just being out there in that brutal environment.
I agree.
Because Cypress, my little wiener dog,
yep,
she would take you through every briar patch you could imagine. You couldn't fit through it all.
Yeah.
So the dog size, I get it. I mean, I can't imagine holding on to a big dog. That's not for me. I already know it's not for me. It could be the best dog in the world. It's still not for me.
Yep.
But it's just getting out there and running your dog, not running your mouth. And when you can do that, you're on your way to becoming a successful team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it goes back to that time on test. There is no substitute for hard work, as John Wooden says.
So I want to touch on 2 things. Collaboration with other teams will make you stronger. But part of that is you have to be honest and admit when help is needed.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by collaboration with other teams builds a strong results is, sometimes it's not necessarily going out there and tracking with the person, although that's great. Sometimes it's best when you're new, just leave your dog at home and go tag along and watch someone else work. That's awesome. But what I'm getting at with this, if you're honest with yourself about your abilities and your dog's abilities, and you can swallow that pride on a track. And if Mike Alguire is listening, he'll chime in on this one. Mike has called me several times. Kenny, I don't know what's going on with this track, man. I feel like this deer's dead. Do you mind coming and looking? Or and I'm using Mike because we tracked a lot, especially when he first got started together. He called me like, man, I don't understand that, we should have found this deer, can you come help? And a lot of times I just go out there knowing that we weren't going to get the deer just to boost his confidence. Like, hey, you were right. Your dog was right.
Yeah.
He would swallow his pride and make that call. And I've called him. Actually, I think it was his first or second year. I call him and say, hey, man, I'm at a loss here. I don't know what's going on. And then I'd already been tracking, 15 plus years. And I called him, hey man, would you back me up? And he came out. He's like, what are you doing second guessing? I mean, what am I going to do that you haven't already done? And I was like, you know what? I just needed that peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Just like the hunter does when we tell him it's a shoulder shot, right?
Right.
They just want that peace of mind.
I can tell you every year, starting last year, I've called a tracker in to back me up probably every year. Even with a sergeant being a 9 years old, proven dog, I've called in, I don't know how many different trackers, Dave Danton, Alan Perry, Scott Lefevre, Critter Morris, Steve Bauer. I mean, these are all great trackers. And
yeah, I agree.
I have no problem. For whatever reason, I don't feel like we're doing that hunter a service. I have no problem saying, hey, I need help. It could be I'm mentally tired, the dogs wore out, maybe we're there at the wrong sitting conditions. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons, but when I feel there's a deer that's laying in the woods and I'm not getting to the end, I'm going to be calling through my Rolodex and I'm going to be extending the olive branches. Hey, who's going to come help me? Who's willing to come help me? And if there's money involved, you can have all the money. I don't care. Because at this point, I need to know that we did everything we can for this hunter. I can swallow the pride. I can put my ego in check. I'll continue to do that, and I encourage everybody to do that. And then to follow that up with the social media behind it. Let's say another tracker comes in and finds my deer, or finds a deer that I'm failing to find. That's not that time for that tracker to go and demoralize the said team that's asked for help.
Yeah.
Come in and say, hey, this is a proven team. They asked for help. We came in and helped. The deer was found or not found. And it shows that we're a community. It shows we're working together, and it happens. And when you can have that transparency, hunters appreciate that. And then your fellow trackers appreciate that. And then hopefully when they need help, you go help them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I don't know how many times Randy, Vic, and we've called each other to back each other up. And, you know, in fact, one year, if I remember, I think it was 17 times that Randy called me and said, hey, I need your help. I know we can get this deer. I know we can get this deer without a doubt. My dog's hot, or, you know, my dog's not the right one for this. And I've called him the same way. And the majority of the time, I mean, he was right. We got the deer.
Yeah.
And you know what we did? I made sure that I took a picture with him and shared the story that how both of us worked together.
Yep.
You know, Randy got us to the point, or, you know, called us in and made sure that the hunter was taken care of. Yeah, it's not just Randy. I'm just using him as an example, you know, because early on, I mean, it was me and Randy, and we really worked together quite a bit.
Yeah. I had a real good client that I knew the deer was 100% dead. We probably got there too early in the day. It was still pretty hot out. And Sarge took off really good. This is back on lead times. And he took me for a walk. Boy, this dog looked like he was tracking. And he's at a point where I'd have followed him all right to the end of the earth. That's how much I trusted him.
Yep.
He took me for 2 big, long BS walks. And I don't know why he did that. I called up Alan, and he just got done having eye surgery. He's literally blind in one eye at this time. I said, Alan, I need your help. And he's like, Rob, I can't see. I said, I don't need you to see. I need you to bring your dog, and I'll be your eyes.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, are you being for real? I said, if you're willing to come, I'm willing to help you get through the woods and work your dog. And he comes out here within 100 yards. The deer made a hard left. And that same spot, I remember jumping a doe out of that little thicket and end up what I believe is Sarge got on that hot doe, and he went another 50, 60 yards, laid the dude's deer. Deer was 150 yards away. Should have been a slam dunk, in and out in a minute. But we were going to leave that deer in the woods because I never brought my dog far enough back as a restart. I was already beyond it. I already got frustrated. The dog was starting to overheat. But we worked together, and the hunter got his deer, and it's a story I have no problem sharing.
Yeah. I think the more experienced you get and the, you know, physically older you get in age, the easier it is to say, Rob, I need some help, man. To call in that help. I know it was. I've called in help, but early on, you want so badly to get it, and it's hard for some young people, some new trackers, especially young new trackers, who are watching the Facebook and have read everybody's comments and to think that to understand, they don't know what they don't know, right? To understand that, no, you really need to.
Well, we didn't have nobody to call back then. I had nobody. So now I do. I take advantage of that. I'm so thankful it's available.
Yeah, it's a resource that I believe a lot of people take for granted and don't utilize enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And here's the other side, and this may ruffle a few feathers, but I'm going to say it. So be prepared, Matt. If
sorry, I got the mute button ready. Go ahead.
You don't have to lie about your abilities or your experience.
You should never do that.
No. And I'm just gonna put this out there. I get so many calls a year. I can't take them all. And I promise you, I will give anyone a track that will do the job, at least put forth every bit of effort that they can, and are willing to work with others and willing to ask for help when it's needed. I'll give them every track I can. But the minute you tell me a lie or you do a hunter wrong or you don't work with the fellow trackers, not just myself, but other people in the area, I'm done.
Yeah.
Now I may give you another chance later on, but it's going to be hard earned.
Yeah.
And that may sound bad, but at the end of the day, I mean, these people are trusting us, and we've built a reputation. And, if you want to be part of it, you want to be part of, the network, I'm not saying like a state network. You want to be part of the tracking community within my area. I'm going to tell you, every tracker in our area is going to expect the same.
Yeah.
Well, the minute you say or do something or withhold something with the intent to deceive, that's an integrity problem.
Right.
I've said this 100 times, and I don't say it as some type of self-righteous thing, but I just felt it was the right thing to do. My first year, everybody that called me, I told them we're a first-year team. I'm going to do my best to do my best, but if you want an experienced team, I won't be offended, and I'll help you find one.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And I think that transparency up front is, and then nobody ever took me up on it.
I was going to ask you a question. How many hunters said, "Well, I'm going to start calling around"?
No, none.
They said, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And there was a time or two as I called, Brent, said, hey, dude, can you come help me out here? Or in the middle of the cornfield, all distraught, posting, hey, man, what the hell? Dayton calls me, talk me through it, calm me down, Well,
because the hunter knew right then you're already being an honest man, so they already knew what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I called him back up on that one too, and that he didn't find the deer.
Yeah.
But it's all in the approach, and we've talked about it 100 times. There's just no point in it. It's the truth will prevail sooner or later, and it's just a matter of what is a wake of destruction. How many deer are going to be left, or how many hunters are going to be tainted on tracking because of your intent to deceive.
Well, I'm going to go off that a little bit there, Matt. I've really seen over the years, you know, you say it's going to come out in the wash in the end. And I don't quite believe that's true with social media now, because how many hunters truly save Matt Berger's phone number?
Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
So you have a guy that's never heard about a tracking dog. He gets on social media, finds a list or posts a picture of an arrow, and then gets 1 million people get tagged into it. And that guy is looking for the first person to come track.
That's right.
Well, guess who's probably going to be available to come track is that guy that's been shady, hypothetically. And he's going to go out there and track and charge way too much money and have I see it every year, and it just drives me crazy that certain teams are just thriving because hunters are so desperate. They're not vetting the tracker that they're calling. They're just asking for help. They're trusting that we're all the same, and we're not all the same, not all the time. And I wish it would wash out in the end, and certain people would be called out on it, and hunters wouldn't be taken advantage of. But that's something that I think I take pride in my personal connections, my social media, of being very honest. I'm not the best. I'll tell everybody in the world, I can tell you 10 trackers that are better than me, but I'll show up and work hard, and 9 out of 10 times we'll probably find their deer. But there's better teams, there's better dogs, there's better handlers. But when you build a huge clientele that know you're honest, your integrity's there, you're going to show up on time, you're not overcharging, you're going to go that extra mile. If it's finding help, your referral that you're finding is going to be a solid person at your referral. That's so vital today. And I really think young guys really need to get on that train and join those veteran trackers and make that veteran tracker their priority. And then at the end of the day, hunters are taken care of, trackers are taken care of, and we're all happy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In fact, I tracked for a guy last year who had called me every year for the last 9 years, and I never went on to track for him until last year.
Right.
He called me every year. And I asked him, he says, I've been calling you every year for 9 years. He named off everyone that I've sent to him. and he told me, he said, do you know why I keep calling you? I said, why? He said, because you always make sure I get help.
Yep.
And he said, you will always be my first call because I know that you will make sure that I get help. Even if you're not the one to come, you're going to make sure someone's coming.
And you're sending somebody that you obviously trust.
Right.
That's important.
It is important. It's all about the hunter recovering to your matters. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can probably get away with being a little bit of a putz if you find a guy's deer, but
yeah,
the experience matters, and it really matters when you don't find the deer for the reason you just said, Kenny. Then he's going to call you back because what we talked about earlier. They liked the effort you put in, or they liked how you treated them. You didn't shame them. You didn't lecture them about, well, why did you take that shot, or all of the things that we could do. We're there to help find a deer if we can, and provide information that might help them next time. If I think, as far as that experience goes, the hunters take questionable shots sometimes. A whole bunch of times it's just something happened, right, that the hunter can't control. But when the hunter does something that they can control, such as a poor shot angle, or there's an opportunity to talk to. Maybe they don't understand, but there's an opportunity to talk to them about that, and it's all in how you do it. If you can, if it's, man, that was dumb. Why would you take that shot instead of, well, next time, understand there's a big armor plate right there on that quartering toward shot with your bow, and it's really hard to get through that. Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. That it comes across as not lecturing, but just sharing information in a non-condescending way. You can still get your point across without being a putz, and they'll call you next time.
Yeah. And a lot of times you can turn a hunter into a killer because you actually teach them how to to make that shot next time. And then from there on out, they're killing deer left and right, and they're so appreciative of that. If it's their setup, if it's where they're set up at their hunting spot, we see so many different hunting spots and locations. You can say, hey, maybe next time get in this tree stand or this tree or this to increase your odds of making that better shot.
Yeah, that angle will be, whatever.
Yep. Because we see it all the time.
Yep. Kenny's chiming in on the comments. Mullins dog tracking.
Yeah. Carrie getting on to Ryan Davis.
Kenny, what points haven't we touched on in your outline here? Traverse Northeast, be honest, be patient.
We pretty much hit them all until right there at the end. About being patient, learn from mistakes, which we've talked about. Ask questions, respect the process. We talked about that. Be open and honest with other teams. We've hit that. And know your dog and your own limits, and that one can't drive home enough. Be honest about your limits. There's certain things that other teams are better at than I am.
Right. Well, and Kenny, we talked about that. I don't know, a month and a half ago or something. Are you the right team for the track?
Right.
There are a lot of things.
So important.
It is important, there's lots of things. I've done it. I think twice last year. I gave somebody Critter's number because I knew they were rundowns, and I wasn't a rundown team, and I knew he could do it. And he was reasonably close. So the hunter called me and was just in awe and just couldn't believe they got that deer. Couldn't believe the experience. It was cool, and the other one, they chased the deer around a while, just wasn't hurt enough to catch,
Yeah.
But the hunter got help, and I was damn glad to do it because I damn sure didn't want to do that. I knew dang well with my bloodhound on a lead, we had zero chance.
That's pretty unique for our state, Matt, with us going in our third year being off leash. Not every team is prepared for that. Right. And I can tell you I'm prepared for it because I'm a terrible handler and I've been letting my dog drag a leash for years. So my dogs are naturally off leash because I quit joysticking them. And then my dogs learn. And I mean my off leash, my dogs aren't running 1,000 yards away. They're trailing up ahead 50, 100 yards and they're staying in tune with me. But when that deer jumps, the dog's able to quickly respond to it and get the chase going on. And that's all because of my bad handling in the past has set me up for where we're at today.
Yeah.
Again, that's just me being honest again.
I became and I'm not bashful about saying it, a huge believer in off lead. And Rob, you know what damn well, you're not the lone stranger in the Invisa lead, as it used to be called back in pre-2023, or the dropped lead.
Yep.
There's a reason. There's a reason the recovery rates tend to be a little bit higher in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Because
I like to share something real quick while we're talking about the whole drop lead thing. And I know there's still teams that do it, and I want to really discourage you from letting your dog drag the lead while tracking. Cypress, my wiener dog back in the day, I was doing that. The leash was dragging. I was standing at the end of the leash, and a buck jumped up, a one lung buck jumped up, and he turned on her. At the time, we weren't registered where we no, actually the hunter did have a bow, so it must have been early on that, but I didn't have my CPL at the time. So the hunter did have a bow, and she went to try to flee, and that leash got wrapped around an autumn olive tree as she was trying to escape. That buck went to town on her, just pulverizing her. And I thought she was gonna be dead. I'm screaming behind me for the hunter to get up there. He gets up there, puts an arrow in the buck, and kills it. Then she, from that day forward, would not track a live deer. She would track to the deer. When we'd find it, she knew that thing would be alive, and I'm going back to the car. So back to the point is, if your dog is dragging that leash at any given second, that dog could take off, and now you have your dog could be lost with a leash still on that deer, or the deer could turn and the going to get wrapped up, and that deer is just going to start goring your dog. So be a better handler, learn how to handle that lead, or just take the lead off and trust the GPS system.
Yeah, that's a risk. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about this 100 times. I lost my dog twice. Once before I had she got loose twice. Let me put it that way. Once before I had the GPS and she was lost. I suspect she was standing over the deer, but we couldn't go over there, and I had no idea where she was. She finally came back. But the second time I had the GPS collar, but we were still on lead, and it will happen. I mean, just in an instant, boom, gone. But you're right about getting tangled up. I mean, I backed up a guy last year before last, who was tracking off lead, and he didn't let the lead drag, and his dog got damn near killed by a buck just right over here by my house. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
And we recovered the deer later, and it was a teckle.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't quite ready to be off lead yet,
Scary.
I felt horrible. I mean, oh my God. When I got there 10 hours later, roughly 10 hours after the shot, that damn deer was still alive. It wasn't doing well. It didn't go anywhere. I should have pushed it out another hour or two, but I didn't. But he didn't go anywhere. We got him. Want to grab some comments, Kenny?
Sure. Might need to rescue Ryan here in a minute.
What's that?
So we might need to rescue Ryan here in a minute. He's messing with the wrong one with Carrie.
Brandon Lee says, "Thank you guys for what you do." Well, thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that support and appreciate you following, and glad you find value in 3 to 4 grown men babbling about tracking. Let's see if you see one. Ron, why you got to pick on Bavarian Mountain Hounds, Matt? Well,
they are slow and sure. A lot of them, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, and they're great dogs. I mean, geez, I tested a 9-month-old the other day, and it was a starter line. Boy, she do real well. A lot of them doing great things. Let's see.
So Wesley's comment says most of the dog trainers that I've read, spoken with, follow advice, finding a training methodology that works for you and your dog's personality and stick with it. That consistency is the key. It depends on the type of training. I'll say that. When it comes to what we do, there are some things, and I believe you're going to Iowa, so to be an eye-opening experience there. But
consistency doesn't, so the way I take that is general consistency in the approach, right? You got to have so, and this is the football coaching me talking. So if we're going to run a spread offense, you're going to do variations within that spread. You're not going to be spread on this play, double wing on this play, single wing on this play, then wishbone on the next play, then back to a spread. You can be have variations within your philosophy. So when I read Wesley's comment, that's how I took it. Yes, there's consistency, but going back to Kenny, what you mentioned earlier, variation in the training, within that philosophy to keep the dogs interested. So that's what I think. That's how I take it. So yeah, I think.
Well, I was getting at more of what works for you and your dog's personality, because that's more of an obedience training type of conversation right there. You start getting into some of the scent training stuff.
You lost me when you said
you and your dog's personality than it is the task at hand. So
yeah, I got you. Okay. Clayton Johnson, Kenny and Ethan are the great ones. Thanks, Clayton. I wish I'd have read that before I read it out loud. Now I got to deal with Kenny about being the great one. Help me a ton. And Clayton, I know I've chatted with Clayton a little bit, and he's good. Terry says 4 was our magic number. Terry's got a Bavarian, talking about years, and we're talking about the kind of the breakout year, if you will.
Well, let me ask you guys something. So I was having a conversation with someone earlier today who has a very young red bone, and he's going to start tracking, like young, I mean 4 months, and he's going to start tracking for the public this year. And I told him, I said, hey, this was last week. I told him, I said, hey, your dog might be killing it now. I said, but dogs go through stages just like children. You're going to see some regression. You're going to see some rebellion. Don't get discouraged if you start going backwards. Not you, but the dog starts going backwards.
Yeah,
you guys experience that?
I personally have not. Mine have all been slow starters. So
yeah. I gotta tell you,
I think what you're saying though is basically that dog's going to learn the big world out there, and it's going to start learning all the other cool things that it's going to encounter, and it's going to find things maybe more exciting than that old trail.
Yep.
That's what you're getting to.
And that's the thing, don't, and when that happens, I'm sharing this because it's kind of on topic, but when that happens, don't get discouraged. It's just part of the process. Just like a kid.
Yep.
You may have a great kid, then all of a sudden they go to school and they find out there's all this other stuff out there in the world, and they may have been a perfect child and they make a mistake. You're not just going to give up on them.
Right.
You're going to work with them to get through it.
Kenny, I got a question for you. You got that 4-month-old quick starting dog. Do you tend to see or see the finished dog being superior, or is it to kind of all plateau out to about the same versus that dog that takes 4 years to get dialed up? Do you see it different in a finished dog?
Seen it both ways, honestly. What I see is when you get a young dog that just has it that young, most people tend to hold that dog back from its full potential. And it because of the slow training process, and then you burn it out, it becomes bored with it. And then all of a sudden it wants to go chase everything under the sun because they're bored and they want to have fun.
Right.
And that's what I would say. That's what I told this young man, make sure you are challenging that dog. Well, he wasn't challenging the dog.
Right.
And the reason he called me today, he's like, man, I did what you said. And the dog, we literally quadrupled the lay time. And he called me. He's like, man, there was a couple of spots where there was a little bit of the dog had to work out, but overall it nailed it. And he's like, I would have never thought to do that. So when you do get a dog that's just a natural like that, and you don't push them hard enough, just like you take a kid who is an honor student, just super smart, and you keep them in a class that holds them back, they're generally the ones that get bored and get in trouble.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Or you take a kid who struggles with learning, and they stick through it. And, that one that was super smart that got held back and got in trouble, and all of a sudden it flunked out of high school, but that one that struggled and worked hard continued on through college and really made something. The same thing can happen in the dog world.
Well, they learn problem-solving skills.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Kenny, that was a good analogy. Talking about the kid, and here's why I say that. When my son graduated high school, he's smart, but he's not overly academic, right? His sister, it came a little easier. He had to work for his grades, and he did pretty well. And when he was trying to get into college, local college, he had to work for that too. He didn't quite score on the entry-level test like they wanted to, so he had to go through the second process. And I was talking with him, the admitting people, whatever I'm trying to say, and they talked about just that. What they see, I'm not going to say often, but they do see it, is the people who breeze through high school and everything is easy for them, then they get to college and that's when they start to struggle because they don't know how to work. They haven't built the work. Or, when my son was coming through, they said, that's not a bad thing because he had to work in high school. He knows how to work and study, whatever. You see what I'm saying? It's not, It wasn't easy where he didn't have to do anything. So he built those skills going into college. And I come to believe that very, very much myself in the dog world in my very limited, time in this genre but and only having trained one dog, but I have become very steeped in the challenging lines of problem solving. And I wish I would have known that early on more about it. That long meandering line, that's not challenging a 4-month-old red bone, right? We are not building. And I'm getting on my stump again. So guys, just give me one of these if it gets to be too much. But this is how I see it. Okay. We are not building big, powerful nose muscles that make the dog sniff better, right? That ain't happening. The only thing we're doing is allowing that dog, and I will say, because we're not teaching it anything, really, we are allowing that dog to develop the skills to solve the problem that rather than because its ability to scent is its ability to scent. So solving the problem is the only thing that we can do to help the dog develop and be the best that the dog can be by putting it in opportunities where it has to use the problem solving skills. And that is just so, and I'm probably way over the top with it, maybe too far to with it, but I just so very firmly believe in that. And, and then understanding what's going on and being able to see it on the electronics, that to me, again, was also a huge leap. And again, maybe this is the football coach studying film and all of that stuff, but being able to look at the overlay on the Garmin, like I've said a million times, and seeing where people say, oh, she struggled right there. And I have come to the point where that's not struggling. That is problem solving.
Exactly.
I love to see that. Now, I did one, Rob, I think you commented on it. I did one right out back behind my house in the sandy soil of my cornfield. And I sat on my porch to watch her try. That was a true struggle. It was kind of ugly, but she didn't. I helped her finish that line after she reset herself 2 or 3 times, and I reset her once or twice. It just didn't go well. But that one was truly ugly, and you could see it on the Garmin. But what I liked about it is she didn't ever quit. She just kept trying and trying and trying. She kind of burned herself out a little bit because it was pretty hot. But it's not because she says, screw it, I'm done, this sucks. It's like, I just don't have any more gas. That's kind of how I interpreted it. So I just think that is so important in developing the dog's problem-solving skills, because that's what you can help it develop, not its scent ability. Sorry.
Well, the good thing is when you see that struggle on the GPS system, that's the problem point. So you as a human can come in there, play the wind, play the terrain, and help your dog out of that problem area. And that's the advantage of running the GPS system. That's what makes you the team.
And that's where the application comes in. Yeah, I had that very, very conversation with somebody who tested on a seasoned line last weekend.
I had one. Hopefully Terry's still on here watching. He was struggle busting on the track, and I was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm in bed, and he's blowing on my phone, and I said, "Well, send me your track. Let me see what you've done." I literally circled on his phone. I go, "The deers are over here, bud. Go get your deer." He goes, "Rob, the dog just got past the turn in the corn or the beans or whatever it was at the time, and the way the wind was and the terrain was, I knew where the dog was struggling and why he was not getting to where he needed to be due to the terrain and the wind. And that's the great part about using the GPS system and knowing scent, where his scent's going to go, terrain, weather, all that plays a major role as a handler and helping the dog problem solve.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just electronics, when you understand, and let me rephrase that. When you learn how to use it, it can be so helpful. I'm a huge fan.
I'd be lost without it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, in more than just on the trail, right? I would be lost without it in training. I'd become so accustomed to it and so attached to it that I would be all out of sorts if I didn't have my Garmin, even if it was a blind track and I didn't know where the line was. Like a real, we never know where the line is in the real world, but I'm not going to call it a crutch, but maybe it's a crutch. I don't know.
I think it's definitely a crutch. It's vital.
It's a tool. I mean, it certainly is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see if any more comments here.
Yeah, I get lost in them. Alguar's got one for you there, buddy.
I saw that.
Viewers at home, you can read it yourself.
There's another one from Wesley that says, I've got a friend that works for the TWRA that thinks I'm a fool for not planning on charging for tracks. I think the experience for my dog in itself is more valuable, especially as a new team. And I got to agree with that. I mean, I'm not saying don't charge, and I'm not against people that charge. I personally don't charge, but there's value in the experience you gain.
Well, there's a ton of value in the experience you gain, but to your point, I hate the money conversation. But if you want to charge. If you don't. I mean,
that'd be do what's best for you.
Do what's best for you. It's no indication of the quality of the team.
But if you got a green dog, you're doing the hunter a disservice by charging.
I'm a bad businessman. I just can't do it. I just feel so weird about it.
Matt, I want you to hit on what you just said again, though. The price is not a reflection of the quality of the team. Or not always a reflection, I should say.
Yeah, not always a reflection. I mean, you can't say, oh, this guy's 500, this guy takes tips, this guy's clearly better. I don't know about that. That in itself is not an indicator.
No.
But you would hope the man that's charging 500 is a reputable team and is out there not taking advantage of people, because there is that point you pay for what you get at some point.
Going back to that honesty and integrity piece.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard. I've listened to a podcast. It's an old podcast. I've listened to it probably 3 times. A guy charges $1,000. I'm like, God dang. I mean,
I guess here's a thought I've always had. Let's say you have that guy charging $1,000. It's a non-fatal shot deer. Then you have the guy that's by donation. And do you think there's a difference on who works harder or who stays longer?
Oof.
I don't know.
I'll say this. If I knew that I had another one lined up that's going to pay me $1,000, I may not spend as much time on that one, knowing I got another one. I'm already getting paid for this one.
Yep.
Yeah. That's just being honest.
No, right. It's great conversation.
It is, and what it also goes down to. back to the hunter experience, right? So Kenny, we've talked about this a bazillion times. Spending too much time on a track when your dog is telling you that the deer is not dead.
I do it all the time. I spend way too much time.
I have too. Yep. When if you don't know, then that's one thing. But if the dog is giving you its tell, and your dog and your tells are solid, and you continue to push that dog, that's a bad thing. But if you give, or could be a bad thing. But if someone's giving you $1,000 and within the first 150 yards that this deer is not dead, and you've been there all of 7 minutes, that's
exactly my point. It's exactly my point.
That's an awkward conversation.
Very much so.
So now maybe you're faking it or something, but just going for a walk. But I don't know. I have zero problem with people.
I think at that point, if you have that kind of trust in your dog and you are charging a substantial amount of money and it's not going to end well, you're better off cutting your financial losses. Be straightforward with a hunter. Be true to your dog and be on your way. And I think at that point, all parties are happy. But if you're out there and you're overcharging and you're pushing your dog for 3-4 hours just to appease the hunter, you're ruining your dog, and there's no win there other than you're putting extra money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And I know we're getting off topic, but I got to say this.
I think we've covered the topic, so go ahead.
Yeah. Since we're talking about money, I don't understand anyone that charges a fee to show up and a fee if you find it, because you are going to work way harder on the ones that you don't find.
Exactly.
Can anyone help me make sense of that? Because I can't figure it out.
When I started, it was $50 to show up, and then I had $50 on the recovery. And then I'd be out there all dang afternoon on $50, and then I'd go find a deer in 5 minutes. I'm like, this is ass backwards. You should really be doing it the other way around. But It doesn't make sense the other way around either. So that's right. I mean, I do charge for my services. It's just a flat rate.
Right.
And I try to keep it where it's affordable, because I'm not a wealthy man by any means. I'm a blue collar worker. I work paycheck to paycheck. I try to keep it where I can afford myself. And a lot of times I can't afford myself. So I have empathy for people that are out there that don't have the money, but they want their deer found. But I can't also be taking money out of my own bank account and not paying my own bills either. So I try to balance it out where it's fair for all. And end of the day, the hunter is okay with paying, the $150 or whatever it may be, because in most cases, guys tip $100, $150 if you're not non-charging. But the one thing I thought about this year is the whole baying aspect. Should I be charging extra money to bay up a deer that's going to put my dog at risk of killing it, or 7 to 10K in vet bills? That's something that last year Sarge got ran over, and the deer could have easily killed my dog.
Yeah.
And to go charge $150 to track a deer and try to bay up this guy's deer, knowing that it's 3-legged and my dog's going to die. At some point, I got to put value on my dog, and I realize it's a risk we're all taking and we're willing to take, but I'm really beating myself over how to handle that financially.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Hunter wants you to dispatch the deer. Now you're personally at risk, although as backwards as this sounds, I'd rather put myself at risk than my dog. That's how much I think of my dog. But
I'm with you there.
I don't want to be at risk. I mean, this is how much of a jerk I can be. And I'm not this much of a jerk, but I'm like, hey man, you asked me to come help you find it. It's right there. It's still alive. I'm a wimp. I do not like dispatching deer. I saw a very barbaric encounter last year, and I just don't like it. Shooting it, I don't care. That's fine, but I don't want to get in a manual encounter with it. But if you do, and someone wanted to put a dispatch fee, I don't have a problem with it. Because you just put yourself at risk and potentially your dog,
Yeah. I'm not saying myself's dispatch, and I'll never do that because I don't want to get hit with all the legal things with that. But I'm just talking, if we find your deer and it runs off,
Yeah.
we done did our job.
Yeah.
I'd rather leave now when my dog's safe and I'm gonna be able to come home and go to work. And then if you want me to go try to chase down your deer and suffering all that, which I'm all for that also. I hate knowing deer suffering, and I hate knowing I have a tool to end the suffering. But at some point, how can I go in debt 7-10K with vet bills at MSU, or my dog's dead over a deer that potentially could just survive? It may die from infection or coyotes or predation later, but at that point, we've done our job. We should just go home at that point.
Yeah. And if they want you to chase it,
yeah,
we know people who are equipped to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Or willing to risk that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So here's an important, folks at home, get your pencil and paper out, and let's call this the Alguire wisdom. The key to training a dog is biscuits, Rob. KFC works, but Poppies is better. When there's biscuits, there's no room to run critters. It works. I promise that. That's how Debo got his ABTA off-lead finish certification, and there's video proof.
So
biscuits.
So the story behind that, we nicknamed Mike's dogs the Biscuit Chasers.
Okay.
And it just stuck, and it stuck for years. Well, then he runs bloodhounds, so they might be able.
They're automatic. I get it. Go ahead.
Might be able to find a biscuit.
Okay.
Well, then he got a dogo, so then someone nicknamed it Biscuits and Gravy.
Mm.
So on his finish test, I put biscuits and gravy out.
Oh, that is as a distraction. That is funny. Yep.
But yeah, it's so I got a question for you guys. Why do you track? Is it for the money? Is it to help the hunter? Is it the love of working with your dog? What motivates you to continue tracking?
I personally, I love seeing the dog work. I love seeing the dog work. I love making that hunter happy. You see how they're sad. You see how they're confused. And I love problem solving. And when you get that dog out there and you work out that track and you're the hero, and it's electrifying. It's just truly. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've never done any of that stuff. That's just a crazy high for me. And back to, I do charge, and I only charge to offset. I take off 30, 40 days of work unpaid. And if I did that, I can't pay my bills. So I literally just charge to make sure I'm not in the red at the end of deer season. If I end of the year and I'm at zero, perfect. I'm out there helping as many hunters as I can. I'm at zero. My bills are being paid. It's just a win-win all the way around. And when that passion stops is when I'll hang up the leash.
Yeah, and that I'm kind of in that same boat. I mean, I like to help people. My job is customer service. Customer service manager, but the utter fascination and thrill and joy of just watching the dog do what the dogs do, and especially when you've trained them to do it. There's like, right. Man, man, just I don't know, man, it's just awesome. And then listening to that hunter behind you go, no way, when they see your dog over the deer before you see because you're looking at your Garmin.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, it's just exhilarating, man. Damn sure ain't the money.
And I think if you ask everyone about the money part of it, if they were financially stable where they could do it as a pure enjoyment, they wouldn't charge. Money brings so much negativity to it. It brings so much pressure to it. It ruins it in so many ways. If I was financially set, I would not charge. I would be able to track as much as I can track. I go on 100 tracks a year working a full-time job. And I take everything unpaid vacation. So I'm out there because I love it. And I'll continue to do that. And the money part's there. It sucks. But at the end of the day, I got to keep my bills paid and the lights on.
Yeah, and there ain't no shame in charging for a track, man. I mean, I don't. Will I someday? Probably. You know, but I don't now just because I'm hell. I give my wife has honey. You know, she's a beekeeper, and I get in trouble because I constantly give her honey away because
That's gold, baby. That's gold.
I know it is, and I just hate it. I'm just terrible.
But even though as a tracker that charges, my young dogs, I don't charge. I'll go, and if it's a young dog, I'll tell the hunter, hey, it's no charge, or make a donation with a young dog. I only charge when I have a dog I have 100% faith in.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I do love watching the dog work, but I love helping the people. You know, I like meeting new people. And early on, it was more about the dog, you know, working the dog and watching the dog work. And don't get me wrong, I do love that part, but it's transition for me. I enjoy helping the people. That's why, you know, why I get 80 phone calls a day. But
yeah,
you know, but no one here said that it's for the money first.
Yeah.
So
I'll even add one more to it. I love traveling to track. Ohio, Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky. Those are vacations while getting to do what you love. You get to meet some of the most amazing, kind-hearted people, see some of the most beautiful property. You meet lifelong friends that you never would have met in your entire life. Yeah. They're inviting you down. Hey, I got places in Ohio where they say, hey, Rob, here's the key. I never even met these people. They just know my integrity, and they say, hey, if you're ever down here tracking, my cabin's open. Here's where the key is. Go crash in there because I don't want to see you sleeping in your car anymore. That's the type of people we're meeting, and how blessed is that?
Right.
Yeah, you certainly meet some good ones. I know that's for sure. You guys have been doing it way longer than me. Yep. Any more comments you want to grab, Kenny? Rob, I don't know if you can see them there. If there's anything that you...
I can't see anything.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, let me just grab this one.
Yeah, that's one I was just looking at.
We had a guy give us $20. Thank you for coming. I told him give us some time. We found the deer. He handed me $200. Yeah, man. I'm so weird about it that I never count the money when people offer me a tip. I never count it because it's just tacky and rude, especially when you don't set a fee. But if it feels awful thick, I'll ask them, hey, how much is here? And they'll tell me, and then I get all freaked out and start dishing it back. And then they, but I won't fight anybody. And, I'm like, no, you got to keep that. I'm like, look, man, it's too much. No, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fight you. This is your last chance. This is too much, In my opinion, it was. And some people take stuff back, but it's just the money thing is weird for me.
It never changes, Matt.
It
stays weird, buddy.
Yeah.
It stays weird.
I just don't like it. But again, I don't have a problem with it for those. I mean, it is work. It is effort more than the uninformed understand.
I mean, so. Let's look at this situation. There was a hunter in Missouri that needed help. And I don't know the backstory. I'm not going to tell you he couldn't find local help. But I ended up getting referred to this hunter in Missouri, 12 hours away. And I simply said, hey, is there not somebody closer? Blah, blah. And they're like, nope, we were told to call you. Your dogs are proven. Your dog's going to find my deer. That's all I care about. Money's not an option. Blah, 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 blah. I drove to friggin' Missouri and back in 24 hours and found the guy's deer. And he handed me a chunk of money that was staggering for me.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
And so you're going to have those situations where how many people that doesn't, let's say you are by donation, is willing to make a trip 2 states over.
Right.
So
Well,
there's a part of the trackers that do charge may go those extra distances and help those hunters that say the people that don't charge would never do it because like, well, I don't charge, but I'm not going to drive to Kentucky from Michigan. So I often wonder about that.
I wonder. I don't know how I would handle that. I mean, if I've got to drive that, I would have to. I would tell them I would have to have something.
Right.
You know? Yeah. I would say, look, man, I don't charge, but I got to get a little something for that's a haul. Now, I don't know why anybody would ever want me to go anywhere but my, Tri-County area, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I had it today. I had an outfitter in Southern Kentucky. Hey, Rob, can you come down and help? I'm like, that's 7.5 hours away. There's got to be somebody closer. And and we found them somebody closer, but they're more than willing to pay the whatever the amount I threw out there. They just said, get in the car and get coming. And I told them, I said, we can't find you help. I'll be packed up on my way, but we're going to try to find you help first. Yeah. I will be your last option.
So I got a call today, someone asking if I knew someone that tracked in Southern Kentucky. So.
Probably the same thing. If it's the same one, Kenzie Taylor's there at some point going to track that deer.
Yeah.
That's the same name that I gave.
Yep.
Well, it was a text.
But originally the hunter, I guess, couldn't get a hold of her, and then a tracker out of Tennessee ended up getting a hold of her, and then she ended up committing to going to it. So it took some trackers working together to get her there. So rumor has it.
I was, to that point was feeling pretty good about the tracking world here. The year before last, I tracked a deer for a guy here, and admittedly we left it. I should have went back the next day. We jumped it. He couldn't come back. I should have went back. And 2 days later, they found it 50 yards from the tree stand it was shot out of. I felt like a real hero. But and they were wonderful. Well, he texted me the next year and says, "Hey, he was in Iowa or someplace. I don't remember. And says, hey, he hit a deer, explained it all to me, and showed me the video. I said, dude, I think that's a liver hit, man. I didn't know anybody in whatever state he was in. I wish I could remember now. Whatever state he was in, I didn't know anybody down there at that time. I probably do now. So I put it in our network and says, hey, does anybody know anybody down here? Sure enough, I think Lefevre sent me a name. I sent it to Sam. Sam called the guy who referred him to another guy. And, that evening, Sam was sending me a picture of his deer,
Yep.
So I felt pretty good. I felt like, hey, man, we got to help. It was a group effort. I felt a little part of the help with help from the network and then the state network and Michigan with the assist kind of thing. It was a feel good moment, I like that.
Absolutely.
And then Sam called me back again. He called me again because he hunts just 20 miles from me, another property, and that one he was able to track, and it wasn't good, but
yeah,
I think the deer lived. But anyway, yeah. So I'm babbling enough. Well, we're crowding 2 hours, guys. And I don't think we need to force this into 2 hours without just to do. So
we can't set a record. We can't set some sort of record.
We probably could. I'm sure you get 4 guys talking tracking. We could be here all night, but Kenny's got to get his beauty sleep, Rob.
Yeah, I'm with you. I need mine also.
Get a shower.
So, closing thoughts.
Happy trails, boys, and appreciate having me on.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
It's hitting full tilt boogie in other states, but here in Michigan we're Oh, don't worry, Rob. I'll be in Iowa with Kenny while you guys are back here chasing tracking youth hunters deers, and I'm giving Kenny some crap because he deserves it. But I'm truly looking forward to going to Iowa.
I told Ken if it wasn't the youth hunt, I'd come to this seminar because I kind of got the lowdown of what's ahead, and that's one that I'd love to be at for sure. It should be a good one.
I'm a little bit biased, but it's going to be a good one, man.
It's going to be a good one.
So Rob, I'm not going to give away what it is that you suggested or recommended trying. I'll let you know that I got multiple colors.
Awesome.
Oh,
awesome. Yeah. To me, it only makes sense.
Yeah. So got a little teaser. If you guys are there, you're going to see a suggestion that came from Rob, and we'll see how it plays out.
I think we're all going to learn a lot from it.
Oh yeah.
It'll be fun. Kenny did share it with me. I'm looking forward to that one too.
And it's going to help. And it's going to help trackers know how to set their dog up for success.
Yep,
that's right.
Without trying to give it away.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, that didn't give it away. Didn't give anything away. All right, guys. Rob, just hang with us when we disconnect here for a minute. We'll debrief. But other than that, guys, appreciate you coming on, Rob. Kenny, appreciate you linking it to the other platforms, although Facebook did seem to work fine. So, guys, appreciate it. More of the good, less of the bad, man. We'll talk to you soon.